Welcome to First and Gold, presented by Pickett Sports and now Boom Fantasy. And we'll get more into that a little bit later on in the show. But breaking down the day in the NFL, we'll get into last night. BradThomas, Matkafee. I guess, guys, before we get to the games, we got to start with last night. Brad was on the Chargers. I was on the Chargers. Matt, you have the Jags in a teaser, so I think you avoided the shrapnel there. But Brad, I'll give you the floor because I know you're hurting like I am. Just take it wherever you want. Chargers with maybe the biggest collapse in playoff history. Take it however you want to go.
Man, I was so disappointed in that game. Like, at no point either did I feel like I was safe because you felt the turning point closing the first half when they did that jet sweep to a guy who hadn't touched the ball all game. Of course, the timing's gonna be up. Run the ball, do your stuff, like milk the clock, go out there with the lead. Don't let them back into the game by doing something foolish. And it was so bad to when it became a 10-point game. I took Jags +7 and I sprinkled a little +400 on the money line. I don't like betting like that. Like, I love going for middles. I wasn't going for a middle. If I'm being 100% honest, I was like, I'm probably going to lose the Chargers money line, but hey, I might get lucky and hit both. It wasn't strategic. I was bailing. Like, I was jumping off the ship, trying to row myself back to shore and get my money back. It was just absolutely like, Staley's got to be gone, right? Like, you can't come back from that. And I know ultimately a lot of it wasn't his fault, but I put a ton of it on his shoulders. What do you think about that game, man?
Man, it was a weird one because he swung overcorrected. All the criticism that he received in the media for being Mr. Analytics, Mr. Aggressive. It's gone the other way. A lack of aggressiveness, and I mean, if it wasn't for the Colts blowing that lead to the Vikings earlier this season, it would be one of those you just hold up there, you're like, oh my gosh, like. And I mean, in the context of a playoff game, I understand why people are saying it's time to go. There are some good offensive coaches out there, and I think I'd like to see Justin Herbert, who's obviously a great talent at the position, get an offensive guru. Sean Payton's obviously the big link. He didn't have an offensive coach in college. He hasn't had an offensive coach yet here in the pros. Anthony Lynn and now Brandon Staley, who's a defensive guy too. Let's get this guy a QB guru and see if we can't elevate his game because, for the next 10, 12 years, you gotta play through your best player. And I thought they kind of took the ball out of Herbert's hands a little too much. Obviously you got to try to get a little bit of semblance of a running game going so you can protect a lead, but it's just catastrophic, man. I don't hang it too much on anything other than you got professional players on the defensive side of the ball. Like, go out there and stop that. Like, it's just there's a lot of blame to go around. We'll say that.
Totally agree. Well said. Bosa with a meltdown, whether he's offsides, and that was offsides before one of those touchdowns, right? And there were so many plays that would have just ended this game. And kicking the field goal on 4th and 3 and missing where, hey, you get a first down on 4th and 3, you can basically run out half the clock. I think there were 7 minutes and change left. It just, man, punting from the +38 to start the half. There's just so many things. And like you said, catastrophic is a good word because think about everything you have to go through as an NFL team. You get mini camp start late July, then you have a whole preseason, a whole regular season, just to get back to a playoffs, man. You were going to Kansas City, you were going to the second round. It was right there. The game was over. Yep. The game was absolutely over, and it was going to be Herbert versus Mahomes. I think the big winner last night's the Chiefs because I don't see that Jacksonville team. I know they got a little mojo now. I don't see them going into Kansas City and beating them. I think that's a good matchup for the Chiefs, assuming the Bills and Bengals win today.
Yeah, I think if you're the Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes right now, you're happy here. The Chargers, for whatever reason, play you tougher. Division familiarity or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think you like your spot here. Trevor Lawrence probably can't play worse than he did in that first half. Definitely righted the ship there in the second half. But Arrowhead is going to be wild. I know it's not called Arrowhead anymore, but
I think it is. It's not.
it's something. It's got a corporate sponsor.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't give in to any of
you
those.
don't
It's still
acknowledge
Soldier.
that,
It's still
right?
Soldier Field. It's still
Right.
Arrowhead. It's still the
Yeah.
Staples Center. It's not whatever it is.
Right.
Like I don't buy into that.
Something. Yeah.
I don't participate in those.
Yeah.
I'm opting out. I think Lawrence going on the road to that kind of environment, it's why you want the number 1 seed. You know what I mean? Like this is what you do. So I think the Chiefs are a pretty good bet to move on. So you could probably look at some AFC exacta prices. Some of these markets are out there. You could shop around because it's almost a pass through there for me.
Totally with you. Brad, anything else before we move on here? Should we just get to Bills Dolphins?
Yeah, man. I'm angry. I'm heartbroken.
Yep.
Man. And to make the game worse, so I was out doing something with my ladies' friends, being the good fiance that I am, and I'm trying to get my bet in, and they're like, "Yo, hurry up! It's your turn to putt. Your turn to putt." And I'm trying to take Travis Etienne rushing and receiving for half a unit and rushing for half a unit. Put the bet in, and I go, at least I made some money at the end of the night. I check my bet slip, and I'm like, I didn't get paid yet. I accidentally took Trevor Lawrence as one of the bets.
Oh,
and I was like, no way. So yeah, that was my story in a nutshell. And I told her about it. I said, you see the sacrifices I make? I said, when I go and do stuff with your friends, I'm missing out on money.
Yeah. Wow. That's that's a
tough man.
I've been there. That's a tough one.
Yep. You guys, you can always make more money. Those memories and those moments, you got to be present because you don't want to be the old guy by himself crumbling up his tickets watching a Yankee
I
game
don't
June 2nd, like in the sports book by himself. Like that future is a dark place.
Or it's a great place. I don't know. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I guess so. Whining that you can't get anything other than a domestic beer anymore. I remember when you could get a mixed drink. You just get it's a sad place. Like you got to put the time in. It's tough during NFL playoffs. I get it. It is challenging because Saturday nights things like that happen. There's all kinds of things happening. But you got to split it and prioritize. So so few of those live bets you just kind of have to let go by the wayside.
Yeah.
So you can.
I would have saved money if I would have been more present.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
All right, Bills Dolphins. Bills are laying 13.5, total 44.5. Can we make any sort of case here for the Dolphins at least covering? I don't know that I've heard anyone even pick the Dolphins to cover. Brad, start us off here. Dolphins, Bills. What do you have? Anything in pocket?
I'm still on that teaser that I talked about yesterday. Bills, Bengals. The number kind of sucks now. I think it's still like if you want to play it, fine. But you are now past that 7-point range for Bills in the teaser. It's at 8. Okay, so I talked about this. I don't want to beat the dead horse, but I like the Bills a lot in this game. I'm not really keen on Skylar Thompson. I do think that the Bills are going to get out to a lead here, which is the only thing that's stopping me from playing Dolphins team total under 15.5. I don't think the Dolphins score 16 points, but I don't want it to be the Bills go up so much and it's just desperation mode for Miami. They're just chucking balls, get a couple lucky scores, similar to what Seattle did yesterday, scoring that final touchdown. Man, I tried to get a sweet middle there yesterday, and I was like 1 4th down flag away from smashing a middle, but still took my little what I think it was like 0.15 profit after most of my parlay pushed. But yeah, I like the Bills here. It's better defense playing in Buffalo. Miami's down to Skylar Thompson, and I haven't been particularly in love with their defense. Like they played the Jets tough, right? And I think a lot of people would look at that. People who want to make the case for the Dolphins, they played the Jets tough, but it was the Jets with Flacco. So I'm ultimately out on this game from a side or total perspective, because I already picked up my my teaser there, and I'm just going to let that ride.
Yeah, if you don't have any position on this game, and you are just wanting to get involved, I think you should take the points in the Dolphins. I do think it's too many points. I think even with a third string quarterback, you do have the division familiarity. I think it's not a great spot, but it's just a numbers play. And even like, I know we don't get to play this simulation out 100 times for you to realize the, the EV, but the Dolphins money line it's not, it's so far gone out of price. Like,
Yeah.
it's a positive EV bet. The Dolphins would win this game more than the implied odds here. But
Yeah.
I'm not saying go play the Dolphins money line for that. It's just one of those things. Like, the game, the number has gotten away from you. So I think you do just take the Dolphins here, and maybe you just catch Buffalo doing a little too much. I think they decide to they'll drop those safeties back. They're not going to get beat over the top like the Patriots did 3 times. I doubt they're going to give up 2 kick return touchdowns like the Patriots did as well. So, the Bills, I think they're the better team. I think they win the game, but I also I think they're good. The Dolphins will be smart enough to try to just keep this thing as tight as they can for as long as they can. Make Josh Allen go on 12, 13, 14 play drives, 6, 7, 8 yards at a time. And I maybe he throws you the ball. Maybe you get a fumble. There's a lot of different things that can happen here that to help you stay inside the number. So I don't have anything on the game at all. I don't know if I'm going to get involved, but if you're asking me if you didn't have anything at all, I think you take the Dolphins here and grab the 14.
Yeah, and again, if you like the Dolphins, there's 14s out there. If you like Buffalo, there are 13.5. So obviously that's a very key number. I like the Bills team total first half over 14.5. Like we talked about, they played twice. One matchup, the Dolphins gave up 450 yards. The other one, they gave up 500 yards. With Skylar Thompson, with Mostert banged up, do we know if Mostert's playing?
I've seen a lot of Jeff Wilson stuff.
Okay, that's what I thought.
From the books. So I don't know if he's going to be fully in or out, but at the same time, like, the books have already moved it to like Jeff
Right.
Wilson being kind of the lead guy. So yeah, tough one.
And Skylar Thompson's dealing with a jammed thumb or something. So to me, Buffalo's going to have plenty of at bats here. They're going to have plenty of possessions. And if you give Buffalo 5 or 6, whatever possessions in the first half, 4 or 5 possessions, they're going to get their 17, 20 points. I think I see a lot of 3 and outs for Miami. And I just don't think if you're Miami, if you can't control the ball and Buffalo just gets plenty of opportunities, they're going to get their points. What happens in the second half once Buffalo gets a big lead like I expect? I don't know, because they got Cincinnati probably next week. They probably take their foot off the gas at some point.
Right.
But to me, Buffalo gets their 17, 20 plus in the first half. So Buffalo team total over in the first half. You can find that at Bet Rivers. To me, that's a good play.
Mostert is out.
Mostert's
okay.
out.
There you go. So yeah, Jeff Wilson.
And Mostert was good against them that Saturday night game a couple weeks ago too. A month ago.
I think Wilson. I mean, it's all about if McDaniel can stick to it. If they can scheme up the run and keep going, I think he could have a nice little day, keep the chains moving, with the Dolphins, they're also worried about the wide receivers' health. I know Hill and Waddle are both less than 100%, but I think they give you enough pause that you just have to respect the over the top threat. So I think the Dolphins will have advantageous fronts. They're going to look at 7-man fronts, and they should be able to run the ball. I think Wilson might be the guy to target if you want to look at some props potentially on the Miami side, because I don't see a way that this game doesn't involve Miami deciding, hey, we're going to run the ball. You're taking your 3rd string quarterback into Buffalo, like. You want to limit that variance by just trying to pound the rock. So weird one.
I would kind of be interested in maybe taking some Jalen Waddle, like more you talk about it. Some underneath routes would probably be available there for him. His props 46. It's a little high. That's crazy we said that, right? Like Jalen Waddle, who's having like these 90-yard games, we say 46 is a little high. But I think 4 receptions, maybe 5 receptions, 8 targets underneath routes could probably get him close to 44, 45, 46 and a half. A little tough.
Well, yeah, and if the bookmakers are right about the number, then obviously in the second half the game script is going to be the Dolphins throwing the ball. So I think you're going to have more opportunity to try to hit that in a game if Buffalo is up 2 or 3 scores. where they just sort of drop a little bit deeper into prevent and just
Yeah.
make sure Tyreek Hill doesn't run over the top of us and give up a quick score. Let Waddle kind of run some stuff underneath. I mean, that lends itself to Gesicki and Sherfield, those other Miami pass targets that aren't the deep threats.
Yeah.
First and Goal, presented by Pickett Sports, presented by Boom Fantasy. Excited to have them on board. They are a new sponsor, so we're excited for Boom Fantasy. We'll talk more about that later in the show, but we want to welcome them aboard. First touchdown scorer, Diggs around 6-1, Allen 7-1. The short shots, we can go down here. Brad, anything you like first touchdown?
Man, first touchdown scorer. Man, looking at the board, I'm gonna pass. Matkafee, you start this off, and I'm gonna think if I don't see anything that I love. Maybe Gabe Davis. He's a pretty good price.
Yeah, I think Dawson Knox has kind of been scoring a lot recently. He's probably a sharp look here. I know Howard, it will probably be on Diggs when they get down into the red zone.
Yeah.
So not that Diggs can't beat Howard in a route, or something like that, where Allen will probably still throw at him. I don't think he's averse to doing it, but Knox makes sense. He does seem to be kind of the red zone monster now for Allen. So it's yeah, I guess that would be the way I lean. I always like Singletary just because he can pass it, he can run it or catch it. He's on the field a lot. Cook sneakily stealing some more snaps. So I would play a Buffalo Bill, and I think Knox would be my guy.
Nice.
All right. And as I mentioned, First and Goal presented by Pickett Sports, presented by our new sponsor, Fantasy Boom, which is a player prop format DFS app. And right now we have Rick from Fantasy Boom who's going to tell us a little bit more about the app. Rick, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. I think we have Rick. Do we still need another minute? I think he's loading up.
We
But
can
yeah,
filibuster for a second while Rick's
while he was I was gonna say if there's anything, first touchdown, nothing really jumps out to me, but Buffalo first defense first touchdown 22-1 is interesting just because look, it's Skylar Thompson, a tip pass, some jitters, making his first playoff start, making his only third start overall. So Buffalo with that home crowd, could they get a strip sack? Could they get a return touchdown? Could certainly see that. 22-1 is not great, but it is something that caught my eye.
Maybe throw in make sure you get a book that has
right. Good point.
Teams.
Good point.
They showed that they could return some kicks. So
great point. Yep.
I might play Singletary 2 touchdowns. I feel like that's a good spot for him. They're gonna have a lot of opportunities to score. I like that at 10-1. I'm gonna put a little bit on that.
Oh, sprinkle, huh?
Yeah.
You think we see Allen really use the legs? Usually playoffs, it's high leverage. These quarterbacks that can run. But you think, second half, if they get a big lead, you think Allen will just play conservative, or is that just not how they think?
Man, yeah, I think Allen is going to do what Allen does. Like, I've heard the stories of how they try to incentivize him, like his own teammates, by like, hey, we'll do something embarrassing, like to get you to stop running the ball and take it, go down or run a step out of bounds. Like they'll do things to just try to add, because you can't motivate him traditional ways. You got to get him.
It becomes instinctual right? too. It's just an instinct to take off and run. But right now we do have Rick from Fantasy Boom. Rick, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on.
Boom Fantasy in the house. Boom. Gold Boys in the house.
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How about that Devin Singletary 2 touchdown? That's a little spicy, Brad.
Yes, let's get it. Let's get it.
Is there anything more anxiety inducing than having any times when Josh Allen's at like the 4-yard line? It's like, and then they go shotgun 4 wide. You're just like, oh, here we go. Cool. Yeah. Really cool. That's so fun. I like it. I like James Cook stuff too. What's going on, gentlemen? Huge Sunday. Let's do it.
Huge. Money to be made is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we had that. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just kind of like, I'm trying to project happiness after the Chargers stomped on my heart last night. I had Chargers Niners Super Bowl 50-1, and I have so funny. I have my girlfriend here, and the Chargers are stomping at the half. I'm telling her what a genius I am. I'm like, halftime, baby, let's go watch a movie. Like, the game's over. I'm in bed watching Crazy Rich Asians, having the time of my life. Touchdown Jags. Chargers punt. Touchdown Jags. I'm like, baby, pause the movie. We got a situation here. An hour later, I'm pacing my apartment like a madman. Like, why do I like sports? Because we get another day. Because Sunday is here, and all the slates are wiped clean. And the Giants
happened in slow motion too. I mean, you could just feel it's just
really
like one of those slow motion crashes where you just can't do anything to stop. And I actually didn't think. I thought it was going to get dicey, typical Chargers. I actually didn't think they were going to blow it till it became clear that, the Chargers have no timeouts. They ran that really great sweep when you're expecting the quarterback sneak. It's like, they're in chip shot field goal range. Chargers have nothing to do to stop the clock. That was a stupid challenge by Staley.
The challenge on the pass was so bad. And you could just tell, like, oh, that's not going to be important later.
Awful. Yeah, no doubt. All right, man. Boom Fantasy. A lot of people listen and say, what is this? What do I need to know? What can you tell me? Just pretend that we're starting from scratch here. What do we know here about Boom Fantasy? What can you tell us?
Hell yeah. Well, first of all, Boom Fantasy has been an industry player for about almost 10 years now. If you watched last night's Chargers Jaguars game and saw the plugs for Sunday Night 7 NBC Sports Predictor, we make that. That's a game that we make. We're an app developer company. We have multiple clients. We've made games for multiple companies, but Boom Fantasy is ours. This is our product. We're super excited about it. We launch in August. And right now we are starting with Prop Parlay DFS, right? Because that's the most common, most popular form of DFS, your underdogs, your prize picks, and now Boom. And what Boom is doing differently just at the start, because honestly, I'm a game designer by nature, and I know that if we fast forward this to next year's playoffs, we're going to have game modes that nobody's even talking about yet. So I just put that in your back pocket. But what we're doing right now is levels for these props. So we have our favorites, and we have our toss-ups. Those are like your standard lines. And then we have our long shots. So we're using alt lines in a way that nobody in DFS is doing. So if you like Jeff Wilson today, if you like his matchup, you can play favorites where Jeff Wilson's total is 49.5. And 5 picks can win you 3x because all of those lines are juiced down. You can take his rush line at 59.5. where 5 picks can win you 20x. That's more of a DFS industry standard. But we also have Jeff Wilson's rush line at 89.5, and that's a long shot. And 2 picks can win you 10x, and 3 picks can win you 40x. And there's nobody else in DFS right now where 3 picks can win you 40x, right? So if you have your angles, if you really have want a flag plant on a player today, there's no better place to do it than playing long shots at Boom DFS. Just a few other examples of those like ladders that I just mentioned to you. I got Saquon at 59.5, 73.5, and 109.5. And I have Jamar Chase at 59.5, 77.5, and 109.5. So I don't know if any of those sound spicy to you guys, but I'm just trying to demonstrate what we're doing differently and how we stand out. Not to mention your first entry is risk-free up to $100. So if you're going to make an entry at the other ones, you might as well do it risk-free at Boom today.
Any of that come with one of those hoodies?
This is a throwback hoodie, actually. I stole this from The Office circa 2017. Nice. This is 3 logos ago. You can't get this anymore. This is
vintage. It's a classic.
Oh man, my closet's all full of vintage Voom swag. That's what I just tried to say. Really good. Thank you, Matt. I deserve that.
If you had a free roll here, what do you like in these games? Any player that you expect to go off that's kind of off the radar? Who would you look for in terms of these games today to have a big day?
Man, I'm legally not allowed to make a Boom entry, but some things that I like early. I like Dawson Knox in the first game. I do think the Dolphins will be able to run the ball a little bit if by no other means, and they don't have a choice, right? They're going to have to. I think the second game is really something that people can build around just because the implied total is so big and it is the only indoor game and you just have the fast track. You have the Vikings indoors. I would be worried about the people returning for the Giants offense but the way the defense, but the way the Giants defense is built, it's an all or nothing blitzing scheme. And so if you're picking Vikings players to make big plays, those opportunities are going to be there. It's whether Kirk Cousins makes the throw or not, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. How about the game tomorrow night? Cowboys Bucks. I've heard a lot of people like the Bucks, man. I've seen a lot of crap from them this entire year. I know Dallas hasn't played great this last month. That was a terrible performance against Washington. What do you like here? Bucks Cowboys.
It's so funny because we talk so much in football about the eye test, right? Like what you're seeing is what's happening, and can that inform your opinion, right? And this is kind of like a bizarro eye test game because all you've seen for the last month is the Bucks win games and move the ball effectively. And all you've seen from the Cowboys is them poop their pants to Sam Howell, look like they can't figure anything out on offense. They couldn't stop the Houston Texans wide receivers group. Let's not forget about that. And now you got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans coming to town. But no, I heard a really interesting podcast last week. I think it was The Ringer, and someone was like, maybe playoff Tom Brady, because he's old and he knows it's the playoffs, maybe he's willing to hang in the pocket just a little bit more. And another analyst is like, don't the Cowboys want that? Isn't that exactly what Dan Quinn wants? Just like an extra half second of pocket sloth Tom Brady hanging around with the ball, an extra tap on the ball. Like, isn't Micah Parsons licking his chops and tying a napkin around his neck, preparing to eat when he hears that? So I think it's really interesting. I like the quick passing offense of Tampa in this matchup, but you have to wonder if Dallas was just kind of saving the good plays for tomorrow, right?
Before we get you out of here, Super Bowl prediction. It's not going to be Chargers 49ers. I hate to
It was
inform
Chargers 49ers, man.
Tough.
Man, don't kick me out. I like you guys. I can't pick the Giants. Man, I didn't know I was going to have to do a Super Bowl pick.
Yeah.
I like the Niners, and I think the Bills have a real destiny narrative thing going. It's going to be really, really tough to go to Buffalo and win, and they just are strong on all fronts right now, all three phases. So San Fran, Buffalo. What about you guys?
Oof.
Man,
I think we're looking at a KC San Fran rematch from a few years ago.
I like
think
that.
that's probably the way I would go too.
Yeah,
although I could see Tampa getting there.
Oh,
Stop.
And I know that
Happens. I'd be the happiest man
I
alive.
know
Take
that's
the future
crazy.
now. Take
I'd
it
be
now,
so-
then.
Yeah, I think there's value in a Tampa future here.
I have one, 35-1. I have two at 35-1.
I trust them, and I trust Tom Brady more than anybody else in the NFC. So I think they'll get through Dallas, and then what? It right there, it just kind of opens up. I mean, is Jalen Hurts and Philly that good that you really think? I don't know. I see a pathway. I do see a pathway. I'm not as hot on Philly as most people. I do think they are good, but I think in the playoffs, they were kind of flat track bullies during the regular season, and so we'll see what happens when the Eagles have to play, some crunch time playoff football. And to me, I can't go against Patrick Mahomes in this Chiefs team. So I could see KC Tampa, and I think Mahomes gets his revenge on Brady. So
that would be a blowout. Matt, what would the line be?
I need to know what's the line.
What's the line if Kansas City's playing Tampa in the Super Bowl? What's the line?
Gosh, man, probably. I mean, I would think because it's a Super Bowl, they're going to be hesitant to go all the way to 7. So probably,
I would say 6.
Yeah, 6.
Oh man,
because Tampa's going to get a bump. If Tampa somehow wins 3 games in a row, they're going to get a major bump. Like if they played today, it would be 7+.
Yeah,
but winning those 3 games would give Tampa a boost.
Just because everyone's going to
couldn't even hedge. Like that's the worst part about Tampa. If they make it to the Super Bowl, there's no hedging. Like they're going to be
massive dog.
Live betting or something. You'd have to wait for live betting or something.
Yeah,
but hey, 35
Mahomes MVP plus 120 or something.
Yeah. I think there's runway there to play around. And I mean, if they get beat, they get beat. It is what it is. You went down swinging with Tom Brady. I think you could put your head on your pillow at night and say, hey, I've done well. I picked a horse, it didn't get there, but at least you didn't try to get cute and back Kirk Cousins or something like that, because that will rob you of sleep.
No.
2 final thoughts. 1, I loved when you said Bucks to the Super Bowl. Brad shaped his mohawk in excitement. If you could grow it out just to do that, like, oh yeah, I love that little subtle move. Woo, that got me so fired up. And 2, there is no safer team to ride through the playoffs than Boom Fantasy, y'all.
There you go.
Let's go.
There it
Let's
is.
go.
Rick from Boom Fantasy.
Wait, we didn't even ask him about the Giants. Oh my God. I just saw the Saquon Barkley thing. Oh man.
What is it? What's up? 31-27. What else is there to say?
Okay, good. I'm probably gonna tease the Giants up. I needed to hear it.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yes.
All right, Rick. Appreciate it, man. We'll be in touch. Boom Fantasy. Everyone check it out. We're happy to have you guys on board. This was awesome. You were great. Need a little more energy next time, maybe, but you were awesome. Thank you.
Boom. Gold boys. Love what we're doing here. Have a Sunday, boys. Talk
See you,
later.
Rick. Appreciate
Bye.
it. Yeah, maybe a little more coffee for him. Maybe just some sort of energy drink. Need a little more enthusiasm. Man. That was good. Thank you to Rick, Boom Fantasy. Looking forward to doing business with them. Happy to have them aboard. I guess we can move on now to the second game, which we touched on a little. Vikings, Giants. To me, this line right around 3, it's probably where it's going to land. I could see the Vikings win this game by a field goal. They met on Christmas Eve a few weeks ago. They won by a field goal. Can't trust this Vikings team to lay points. Brad, you can start us off here. What do you got here? Vikings and the Giants.
Yeah, I'm probably going to tease the Giants up. I think that this is a very, very sharp line. Like if you were to ask me if I wanted to take the Minnesota Vikings -4, I would tell you absolutely not. I wouldn't take the Giants +2. This is one of those games where you think about like one of these defenses is going to have to step up. And which defense do I trust to step up more? I mean, unfortunately, it's the Giants. Even though they're 29th in defensive DVOA, I think that they're better coached at this point in time. And maybe the coach of the year committee will agree with me and have Dabble be the coach of the year. Not that I say that he is, but I think that when he needs to lock down, he has the ability to have his team locked down. I haven't been able to say that about the Vikings. Vikings with a negative point differential. Vikings won 10 plus games this season. The only team in the NFL who has a negative margin of victory, a negative point differential. Minnesota's back in their secondary has been very, very hard to watch. I'm not ultimately that afraid of the play that I do have, which is Justin Jefferson, most receiving yards in this game, because I think that Justin Jefferson's one of those kind of players where you try to take him out of the game, but I don't see who on the Giants is going to be that guy to take him out of the game. And basically his line is 100. If you think he's going to get 100 yards, who the heck else in this game is going to get 100 plus yards? I was looking through this and I was like, maybe Hawkinson? Sure. He would probably be the only guy I think, but we've seen one explosion game out of Hawkinson. We've seen 15 explosion games out of Justin Jefferson at almost even money. I feel like I'm more comfortable taking that than taking a juiced over at 98. Because at 92 it's you have to play these percentages. I mean, play these odds. It's -132 to play 92.5 on the over. It's -120 to play him most receiving yards. Like, I mean, is there anyone else that we think is going to get more than 93 receiving yards in this game?
No, Hawkinson had a big day, their first meeting, but I think they'll probably make some adjustments, try to not let Hawkinson beat him. Matt, what do you got here? And you can go right into first touchdown if anything catches you.
Yeah, sorry, I got to bring in a little European football. So Arsenal have taken the lead in the North London derby. Bukayo Saka gets a shot on target, and Hugo Lloris with who's the Tottenham keeper, just a terrible handling of the shot, puts it in his own net. 1-0 for the good guys. So, but yeah, in this one, I wanted to I think Hawkinson has a good day. I think like what Rick was mentioning, the Giants will be blitzing a lot, trying to put Cousins under as much heat as possible. So I think he's going to look for his safety valves, and Hawkinson's going to be that guy. I think his yardage is a good target. I think he can clip that pretty easily. I don't know. Jefferson it's tough. You know, he teams that really show like, hey, we are not going to let Justin Jefferson beat us. Like I think that's the recipe for success. Now it may open up things for Dalvin Cook, but I think you can live with Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne kind of beating you. You know, I think you just kind of go crazy on Jefferson. Maybe you do take a longer shot to try to answer Brad's question. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but a KJ Osborne or a TJ Hawkinson would be kind of those guys if they decide to say, hey, we're going to go all in on stopping Justin Jefferson, then maybe he has to pivot away. And if I'm the Giants, I'm scheming that way. I want Kirk Cousins to play left-handed. I want him to go to his second and third read. I want to give up my pass rush time to get there. So I would look that direction. I think Danny Dimes rushing is a pretty solid look, as well as Saquon rushing too. I think the Giants just, we've talked about it all year. They kind of scheme weird things. They do a lot of trick plays, a lot of misdirection and things. The Vikings are poor defensively, especially against the run. They're bad against the pass too. Don't get me wrong. They're equal opportunity for offenses, but I just feel like you don't want Jones going into that kind of atmosphere, throwing the ball around the yard. Get him on the edge, get him moving, a lot of bootlegs, get Saquon as many touches as possible. And I think that's good things. I think the Giants are live here. I think the Giants are a good teaser leg. If I'm going to play a first touchdown, I would probably go ahead and go Danny Dimes. I think you're getting a nice price, not a great price. Don't get me wrong. It's not ideal, but I do think there is a little bit more value on him versus trying to go like Saquon or Cook.
It's interesting that you talked about, containing Justin Jefferson, because I remember that matchup. That was probably the saddest day of my life. I was in the fantasy football semifinals. Justin Jefferson, the guy has TJ Hawkinson. And Justin Jefferson exploded at the end, but they contained him all game. But he's one of those players where it's tough to contain him. And I don't think I could see another TJ Hawkinson. I would say I would agree with you. KJ Osborne would be who I would target. Danny Dimes rushing yards. His rushing yards has already moved up like 7 yards since Wednesday. I just looked at it. It's at 40.5, which is absolutely insane to me. I'd probably take TJ Hawkinson as first touchdown, 11-1.
Yeah, it worries me. Everyone, and listening to these shows, not that I listen to everything, but listening to all this stuff all week. Everybody loves the Giants. It always makes you a little bit nervous, but we'll see what happens. Another interesting game, another rematch. These are all rematches. These teams played last week. Bengals laying 8.5 or so. Looks like it's going to be Huntley, who's apparently his nickname is Snoop, which I didn't know until like 2 days ago. Boy, it's just tough to see Baltimore winning this game. I could see them grinding it up, slowing the clock down enough to keep it close, running the ball, running the clock, underneath stuff to Andrews. But in terms of winning this game, you figure the Bengals are a safe teaser leg. I could see an under. I could see like a 20-13 type of win for the Bengals. I just don't know if the Ravens can score enough to pull the upset here. Brad, start us off here. Bengals and Ravens. What do you like? What's your angle here?
Yeah, this is my other part of my teaser leg here. With Bengals, got them at a better price too. Like these are tough. I put this in my channel a while ago, so it's tough to come on this show on a Sunday and the line's moved already 2 points and say you want to take a teaser. I do think that the Bengals are clear to 7, which is if you do want to tease Bengals, that's fine. Listen, this is a Cincinnati team who started the season off tough. There was no doubt about it. Super Bowl hangover. Everyone was counting them out. Then they went on to cover in 10 straight matches, 10 straight games. I think they didn't lose the cover for the rest of the season, but I actually stopped tracking because the line started to become almost unplayable. It's a team that does a lot well, and they're gelling at the right time. But I'm not even going to talk about the explosive offense that they have. We know about Joe Burrow. We know about Jamar Chase. We know about T. We know about these guys. It's the defense. I never would have thought that I would look at my stats and be like, holy crap, the Bengals 11th in defensive DVOA. Holy crap, the Bengals variance is probably one of the lowest in the league. I don't have the numbers in front of me. The Bengals variance is 5th. Well, basically, when you track variance, that means how often is the defense good or bad and how close they are to the median. They're 5th in the NFL, which means they're pretty close to the median of always being that 11th, 10th ranked defense in the NFL. What I'm afraid for the Ravens is the Ravens have a quarterback who has a hurt shoulder, hurt wrist. A quarterback who's mobile, a quarterback who wants to move the pocket. I think they're going to want to try to protect the quarterback. They're going to want to run the ball. They have good running game, but then they're going up against a very stout run defense. That's exactly what the Bengals want them to do. The Bengals want you to challenge them on the ground because they think their defensive line is going to be tougher than your offensive line. And so for that reason, I like the Bengals in this game. I actually decided to stay away from all props in this game because I do think that the Ravens, much like the Dolphins, are going to want to slow the game down, limit possession, limit time of possession. And I'm not taking unders on Bengals players. And so I just can't in the right mind play an over on a Bengals player. I mean, I can't in the right mind play an over on the Bengals player, what I just said. I feel like, especially now, I'm probably late to the party on anything that's kind of little tasty.
Yeah, immaculate timing on this. I just got a text from my Dolphins friend. He said, Skylar Thompson about to shock the world. So
yeah, sure.
He's not biased at all.
No.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny to share that one out. It's a wild. I'm more interested in what the Ravens are going to do with Lamar Jackson here. Are they going to try to, franchise him and trade him, or are they're going to somehow keep him going? To me, this is Bengals just take care of business, keep it moving. Like, I don't see the Ravens doing much of anything. I guess Justin Tucker field goals always a good look. It's going to be hard for them to pass up any points at all anytime they're in there. Brad mentioned how good the Bengals defense is, so it's only going to get better when you have the 12th man, in that the back of the end zone there. So Justin Tucker, automatic. I'm not saying, if you get down 2 touchdowns, 3 scores, field goals get a little dicey, but at that point, like, are you just punting on points? Well, I think Justin Tucker field goals is a decent enough look, but I do think the Bengals on a teaser is awesome. Perfect zone to get that down in. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say other than I think it should be pretty one-sided. I think it's always hard to play the guessing game of which receiver is going to go off for the Bengals. So I think what Baltimore will do is try to send a lot of pressure at Joe Burrow and do as best as they can to try to rattle him, get him off his spot. Joe Mixon, I think, could have a nice day in the receiving game. Potentially, catching some screen passes. You take advantage of some of that aggressiveness. Burrow, doing a little check down work might not be a bad idea. So, yeah, I don't have too much more than that. I would say first touchdown. I haven't looked at the prices exact, and so I don't know exactly where the best value is for this game.
I can read them to you. But before, I just wanted to point out, I'm looking for a Huntley passing prop. There's reports they're going to use both quarterbacks, Brown and Huntley, so nobody's hanging a Huntley prop at least yet. I would look to go under. Who knows? Maybe he re-injured it. Who knows? Maybe they just try to run the ball. There's a lot of ways to win an under, but books are not cooperating here, not hanging an under. In Tucker's, you can get this at Bet Rivers. Tucker total points over 5.5. So I would probably look to play that. As far as first touchdown score, Mixon 5-1, Chase right around plus 550 as well. Higgins 8 plus 850, Dobbins 11-1, Boyd 14-1, P Ryan 14-1. Feels like a lot of these prices are short. Andrews, if you like a Raven 16-1, Huntley 22-1.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything jumps out at you.
Nothing too crazy. What's Burrow?
He was like 22-1.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, 26-1 on FanDuel. That's not terrible.
26. Yeah, I mean, I could see a situation where he wants to score here, but yeah, it's I don't know. There's not enough value, and there's too many guys to go to.
Exactly.
I love when they like, I caught Boyd in the Buffalo game for first touchdown. Yeah, because they were just hanging a bad number. So, like, shop around, try to see if you can find a rogue number. Like, everywhere had Boyd at like 12, 13-1, but DraftKings had him at like 25-1. Sometimes you can find a bad number out there and just try to pick it off and maybe get a little lucky. But I would say I would not go with one of the chalk guys, like the super short shots.
Right.
I 5-6-1, like, that's just not enough payoff for me. So I heard Higgins at 8.5-1, something like that. Like, I think I'd rather have that than a 5-1, somebody 5-1.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a lot of conviction with this one. There's a lot of cooks in this kitchen. I'd probably lean Tyler Boyd. He snagged quite a fair amount of first touchdowns for the Bengals. I think he's probably my favorite play.
Cool.
All right. That'll pretty much do it. We should probably do a picket play of the day. Anything you guys, my lean would be to go over 14.5 team total Bills first half. To me, that you're really isolating your handicap. Anything, anyone want to pound the table for something else?
No, I like that. It's cool with me.
Yeah, I'm fine with riding with Buffalo. It seems like that's a safe bet. We get an early cash in. The only other thing I would say would be the Tucker kicking, field goal
I like
type
that
of
one
thing.
too.
But you got to wait till probably 9 or 10 o'clock tonight to cash that thing. So
yeah,
and
let's cash it early. You said play of the day, not play of the night. So
that's a good point. That's it. All right, we're sold. Picket play of the day is Buffalo first half team total over 14.5. That's pretty widely available. So that'll do it. Thanks to Matt Mcafee, BradThomas, Boom Fantasy, Picket Sports. This was fun. Good luck on all your plays. We'll be back during the week. We'll see you next time.